Welcome to the Serious TV Drama Podcast, Survivor Edition. I'm Scott, and while I may not be Probst, I am your host, and I'm joined by a podcast partner I'd never send off to another tribe, and that would be Tiffany. How we doing tonight, Tiff?
I am doing well. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I'm well lubricated with my wine and ready to unwind with Survivor.
Aw, that's right. Let's slow down the drinking a little bit. Anyway. Anyway, we are back to chat up and break down this week's episode of Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans. The latest episode was titled Therapy Carousel. So let's get right to it. The episode opens up back at the beach with the Vatu tribe as they're sadly waving farewell to Kyle as the boat motors away with him. Now, Genevieve, she is truly upset and thought about messing up her game, as one might have thought from the previous incarnation of Genevieve. This is Genevieve 2.0, remember? It's a genuine feeling, a Genevieve feeling of sadness and loss, true emotions. And apparently, Q had some emotions too, but he says that helped clear his mind. He chooses to focus on one of the last things Kyle said to the tribe before he left. One of y'all win it. So we see him conferring with Colby about that, how to ensure that one of them does indeed win it. And that leads to Q opening up to Rizzo about having lost his vote in the supply challenge. Because he, and I think by extension Colby as well, see Rizzo as a possibility to replace Kyle, or at least get his vote. And so we do get a moment with Rizzo pointing out in his own confessional that if he can change the returning player's perception of him that quick, he thinks he might just have a long stay in this game. Now, putting aside the way we might knee-jerk react here and say he just jinxed himself, I think we should talk a little bit about this opening, as I was surprised they essentially picked up right where the previous episode ended. So, what is this telling us about Genevieve and how she's changed? Do we think there may be a bit of prophecy in Kyle saying one of you all win it? Because I find it suddenly easy to picture at least one person from this tribe right now showing up in the final tribal, recounting Kyle's words even as one of their inspirations. Is Q telling Rizzo about his lost vote and trying to get him on board for voting purposes the right move at this point in the game? So these are the questions I have for you, Tiffany. So hopefully you're not too lubricated. You can still squeak out some answers here.
Yeah. So I get what Q was trying to do as far as like, okay, we got to replace Kyle so we can have the majority. Um, we want to foster trust. I don't think that I personally would have shared that with Rizzo at that point, that I didn't have a vote. Maybe I would have told my other alliance members, but I don't know that me personally, I don't think that Q needed to share that with him at that point. Especially like they don't really know anything about him yet. Remember, they've not had a chance to see how he
Right. Well, they haven't seen his
play.
game yet.
Yeah.
The only counter to that, and why I'm not sure if I agree necessarily. And again, I love that we have to say all these things and pretend that we didn't see like the ad for the next episode and realize, what does it mean? And that's going to be with a lot of things that happen in this episode because we have to take it at the time it was done. The reason why I'll say it was not a bad idea is because remember, well, first of all, two of them don't have votes, not just one. So that's a problem for their little alliance because Colby also doesn't have a vote.
Yeah. Mhm.
And with Colby kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, taking Rizzo under his wing and having and Rizzo had that emotional moment with him, whatever. So they're kind of doing that almost that father son kind of like bonding sort of over there. I think that combined with the fact that because Q is now closely aligned with Kyle, I'm sorry, with Colby. I think that helps that, and the fact that Rizzo didn't say anything kind of duplicitous in his confessional to us, the audience, makes me go, okay, I get it. And really, at this point, it's only if you went to tribal. And as we know, they don't end up going to tribal, so it's fine. But at the time, you don't know that. Um, the thing with flipping it back to Genevieve, Genevieve, I know, is one of our favorite players. You actually were smarter than me, and you actually remembered to put her in your final three. I don't know why I didn't do that, but whatever. But it's funny. I'll root for her to get there, even if I didn't pick her. I don't care. Again, I'm not making money or anything else off of this. Um, but it is kind of interesting and striking to see her being genuinely emotional about something and about which wasn't her brand before, but it is something she came into the game wanting to work on. It is funny that we have a couple players and I noticed that they're mostly new era players, but I could think you could probably apply it to at least. Nope, you know what? You can apply it to some old era players. I like the idea of players who are in the game who have either issues or an established way they played before, and they realize they have to do something different in order to do better, or to last at all. You like new era players. You have like Genevieve is like that. Emily has spoken is like that. Then you have old era players like Ozzy, for example, who's talked about how he has to really change ways. Da 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 da. Da. It's just, whether we think he has or not. Well, you know what? Guy's still doing pretty damn well. So I still can't knock him, even with that weird haircut of his.
Oh my
Um,
god. I'm so glad you mentioned that weird haircut because it's been, like, every time I see it, I'm like, "I hate his hair. I really hate his
well,
hair."
have you seen that? I think a lot of people out in social media have compared him to another former Survivor player. Her name, I know it's not this, so I'm not going to say the word because I'll be unintentionally offensive.
Mhm.
But she was you just watched all the seasons. You should remember who I'm talking about. Older woman, not super old, but maybe
Oh, Shambo or something or
Shambo. Yeah, it is
yeah,
Shambo. Thank you.
yeah.
Because I knew it was a name like that, but I didn't remember the H, and I certainly wasn't going to say it
Oh, yeah.
otherwise. No, 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 no. Oh no, you'll be canceled. But I remember she had that weird mullet thing, which is what
Yes.
he's got going. It was going, it's funny, know, even though Survivor wasn't around in the 80s, it wouldn't be as weird if you had this hairstyle 20 years ago. But right now I'm going, what is going on with your hair, dude? It's so bizarre.
It is terrible. I hate it.
But
Like
then again, I speak as someone with no hair, so maybe I should shut up. Anyway, all righty. Um, and before I move on, do you get what I'm saying about how once they kind of start stressing the fact that Kyle said one of y'all win it, and they kind of talking about that, doesn't it
yeah,
really become easy to picture that being and
yeah,
someone saying that it just I can see the edit, I can see, and it becomes,
yeah.
oh, which one of these players? It could be Genevieve. That would she actually had a really close relationship with, and that would actually be the coolest one of them. It could
That would. I would hope
or,
that.
it could be any of them. I just thought it was like, I could see that happening. Doesn't mean it will. It becomes something, it becomes very easy to visualize.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that are easy to visualize. Oh, an unintended great segue. That's what I do, people. That's what I do. Let us take a cheek clenching waddle over to Camp Scylla. We're doing a conversation with Joe. Christian, well, Christian isn't feeling so good. One of the phrases he uses that I believe I've said myself many a time, far too many a time. Oh, by the way, this is the episode where Scott relates to too many things that happen in this episode, and none of them are good. He does another one later, but this is the worst one. He refers to his unexpected gastrointestinal distress. I've actually used that phrase. An unexpected evacuation. And they're not talking about Kyle from the previous episode. And then a dark cloud. Emphasis on a dark cloud in my life at this moment. So later,
Oh,
it's so good. So did you like the fact they even blurred out the pants? You know,
yeah,
because
like
apparently there was stainage happening there.
so I literally wrote, "Christian poops himself." Another reason I will never go on Survivor. Like,
Well, I've told you that after the swimming situation and bugs, my, my next issue with Survivor would be, wait, the bathroom aspect really bothers me. I mean, unless I just keep going, halfway underwater, doing what I got to do, and then, self bideting or something. I don't know. Let me not leave out everything else he says here. When he's asked a little bit later, and he's asked, and they all know what happened, so it's not. It's they're just screwing with him. When he's asked what happened, he goes along the lines of the details of this prior experience are for me and me alone. He notes that it's not the first time it's happened on Survivor. He points out he's entered the pantheon of people whose pants became unexpectedly colored. I would say even if we don't know, if we can't remember it happening per se on an episode, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. They just didn't show it. But fellow Survivor players know it happened and have talked about it amongst themselves. He does then end it with, "I'm dead. My wife is going to divorce me."
I know. So in all transparency, I've never seen an episode of Survivor where that was featured, that has happened.
Well, I don't see. I think it's probably happened a number of times, but they just chose not to focus on it.
Yeah,
They
I
chose
think
not to.
so.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think there's been very, very, very little said about bathroom activities on Survivor
Yeah.
over the 25 years. I do remember a couple times in referencing, like, when, because did they actually have a bathroom once, and they were like making a big deal about actual toilet paper, and they reference that they're going in the water, and that's
Yeah.
only been referenced recently. I don't remember that back in the day, and if it was, I just don't remember it, because I think they thought, yeah, CBS probably thought, you know what, we don't really need to get into that.
Yeah.
Much like all the shows you watch, that, when you watch 24 back in the day, and someone pointed out, you never see him go to the bathroom. It's like, well, there are some things you just leave out. But the last thing I'll say about it is, and I think at least some people will agree with this, I just think Christian just becomes more and more relatable to me with every scene, especially
Yeah,
this.
I really love him, and when he put in, "My wife's gonna divorce me," like, I love him.
But
I
he's so
love
good.
Christian, okay?
It almost, I won't do it because I just won't. It almost makes me want to go back and rewatch the season that he was on just to watch it again. Because I obviously just saw it the one time. I have only faint memories of it. I don't care enough to go that to go watch it because I've got other things to watch. Okay, so let's move on to the challenge, the first challenge. Now at this challenge, first, the other tribes find out about Jenna being voted out. And you notice there's not really that much of a reaction to that. One wonders if it was obvious to multiple, if not all, but at least multiple players, that Jenna was the likely one to go. Because, whenever we've watched Survivor, especially, over the last, for me in recent years, because I don't remember all the way back when, there's always some reaction to most people who get voted out, unless it's like so blindingly obvious, they don't. But usually it's like, oh my God. No one reacted to the person who waited the longest to be back there from the very first episode got kicked off. However, it's finding out about Kyle that has a much, much bigger impact, especially for Camilla, who we see as, the other tribe is approaching them, and it seems like they're missing a player. She's mumbling, "Not Kyle," over and over again. Felt so bad for her. Although, and I didn't write a note about this, but it just hit my memory. So I'm going off notes here. Um, I believe I saw a clip of my favorite Survivor player who's not here because the producers and props suck. And Rob Sestorino himself said the person who probably had, in some ways, had the best episode in the first episode, and I actually forgot about this until just now, may very well be Camilla, because if Kyle's removed, her biggest stumbling block was the fact that people would associate her alliance with him and would assume that they would suddenly not be friends and allied with each other. Removing him from the game, that's out of the mix.
Mhm.
And she had already said, we already saw her talking about how she wants to play. She's aware that wants to play a different game. That confirms it because there's no Kyle. And even she might even get a little bit of sympathy as a result, even though, it's just a friend of hers. Right now, at least, she's the only one who clearly benefits from Kyle being medevaced out, even though she's also the one who's most clearly and rightfully so, most upset about it. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. And when Rob Sestorino said it, it's like going, That's why you're so smart. That's why you should have stayed on traders longer. That's why you should have been on this show. Anyway, I just wanted to get that in there.
Mm, okay.
Um, but after Jeff first talks to Ozzy about the idea of players, being medevaced, and that's where Ozzy talks about how the fact his own back was spasming after the supply challenge. That kind of opens the door, or at least he takes it as as a door opening for Coach to bring up the supposed controversy over that challenge and the question of his honor. Now, let me just quote them, and I'll opine a bit here before going to you, Tiff.
Okay.
Now, I personally, I was never really particularly, I'm going to use the word particularly a lot when I talk about Survivor, particularly a big fan of Coach. But I did say I liked him last week. I also never cared much for Ozzy, but I didn't mind him last week. And if we're going to be honest, he might have been the player of the episode, but we'll talk about that later in this episode podcast. So as far as that whole supposed divide between them, I felt I was on Coach's side. And look, man, I get wanting to set the record straight. I personally have suffered from the need to prove myself to be right and so on so many times. But you know what? It often doesn't go well for me. And I don't think it went well for Coach here. And nothing more so than when he ends his big declaration, that he's something like he's been playing now with the same honor that he's always played it. And Ozzy, you gotta give him the points for this one. He effortlessly responds, yeah, I think he's playing the way he's always played. I mean, the last time I played with him, which is such a beautiful zing because it's one of those you have to like think about just for a second. You're like, oh, and so that beef is a barbecue now. So
So I had written down like, Coach has a tantrum, full on tantrum, because that's what that was. That was a major terrible shoes tantrum. My honor has that blah blah blah, and like I can picture him like stamping his feet and blah 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 about his honor and all. And again, as someone who is not a Coach fan or nor an Aussie fan, but last week respected Coach's gameplay.
yeah,
Yeah, when he stole the key or whatever, because yeah, why wouldn't you? He didn't say he wasn't going to do that. That was between them. So I really respected that move, and for him to come back and then allow himself to be triggered,
yeah.
because that's what that was.
He let
He
himself
was
be triggered, and I mean, all
and then
he doesn't see it, but we're the viewers we're watching the reaction on so many players' face.
yes, they're all like
No one, and we're talking about players on his own team, not just the players on
yes.
the other team. I'm like, dude,
Everyone is rolling their eyes, like, you can hear the eye rolling,
yeah,
like
eye rolling, they're trying not to laugh. It's just like, don't,
yeah, and it's
you're
just like,
yeah,
dude, this is a game where you have people who respect strategy, who respect backbiting, who respect lying, it's okay. All he had to say, if he wanted to clear the air or whatever, all he simply had to do was say, "Hey, I never said that I was in agreeance with that agreement that you and Q made. I didn't speak. I didn't buy into that. As far as I was
yeah,
concerned,
right.
yeah, there's no need to be like my honor and all that. No. Look, I never said I was going to give it to you. So when the opportunity came, I took it.
Yeah,
It
I
is
don't.
what it is."
I think he should have let it go. And if he wasn't going to let it go, I don't know if right there was the moment to bring it up. Right after people are essentially reacting to Kyle having
Yeah.
to leave the game due to the Achilles tendon injury.
Yeah.
But I just, I mean, I guess it's the only time, the first time they've gotten the chance to say anything in front of the other players from the other teams, and he wants to clear the record because everyone on Ozzy's team has obviously heard this as well. But I would have, you know what? I actually would have gone about it slightly differently. I wouldn't have even mentioned the honor stuff. I wouldn't have because
Yeah.
that just makes him like
Yes.
why do you need to make yourself into a cartoon character again?
Mhm.
I would have been nasty about it. I would have been confrontational about it. Like I said, I would have looked at it like, oh, by the way, I heard you've been saying I might have even cursed. They can bleep it. Who cares? It's like, or okay, maybe he'll say crap instead of shit. Fine. It's like I hear you've been saying crap about me about that challenge. Let's make it clear. I never agreed to any deal with you. The way I got that key was totally within the rules. If you don't like it, all you're doing is whining. You're a sore loser. That's it. That's
That's
it.
exactly what I
That's it.
just said. Yeah.
Don't get into
Yeah.
goddamn fucking honor stuff. Don't do this long-winded thing where everyone's just gonna make fun of you.
Yeah.
Fucking put the fear of God into him. Jesus Christ, that's what you got to fucking do.
Exactly. Because it was just like, whatever. Like, who
Yeah,
cares?
yeah. I felt bad. I mean, I didn't feel bad. It just admit. I got why because I get that. I fed that, but sometimes you just gotta either bite your tongue, and I'll admit I can never do that,
It's
or
hard for me too.
or just go,
Full
the way
on
I just
nuclear.
described, and then it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
just scare the fuck out of them.
Mhm.
Okay, fine. As for the actual challenge, which basically involves leaping the smash thingies that release a key as you go splash into the water, then you scoot across balance beams until the final player actually takes a deep dive to get a few rings. And once everybody's on the platform, someone has to essentially win a ring toss.
Mhm.
Um, like I said, I mean, I do have to watch the challenges in their entirety because it's Survivor 50 and you never know, something might be interesting. I will say this, it is sometimes interesting to see players doing better than you expect them to do or not as well. I realize that's, especially, how well Mike White handled things. He was ahead of everybody in that first
I
round.
put Mike White is a challenge beast.
Yeah, that's who saw that coming.
Mhm.
Camilla was the one to take a seat in this one, which means they make it clear it means she has to be in the immunity challenge later on. And Aubrey was the one who initially missed smashing the key, which I think cost that tribe Vatu some additional time. And I think that's probably essentially the reason why they ended up losing. The Scylla tribe won first prize, which meant
Mhm.
they got the big camp improvement kit. Kala was the runner-up and got the small kit, and Vatu wins Bupkis. So that means for that reason, we stick with Vatu and we go back to their camp. Oh, wait, I should not. I mean, well, I didn't really think there was really much to say about the challenge beyond that,
No, we're good.
which
Yeah.
is fun. I feel that other than saying what happened, unless the most interesting stuff at a challenge is going to happen either before it, like the stuff with Coach and Ozzy. And you know what? Hell, go off script again. Coach and Ozzy, what's great about this, and I'm going to say it's great. Again, I don't know how much more it's going to go on, but I feel it will. I'm hoping it will actually, because you've taken two characters, two we maybe even iconic Survivor players that I personally, and I think you as well, oh, actually, I know it. We both don't personally care that much about. Neither one of them are anywhere near our Mount Rushmore of Survivor players,
Mhm.
and we get why they brought them back, but we would have been fine if neither of them had been brought back. I think I switched my idea on Coach, whatever, but initially that was my reaction. But you get them like going at each other. You get this whole thing going on. You know what that makes? Makes good TV. It makes this interesting, especially because these two have been around for a while. They've been playing Survivor for over a decade and a half, or in some cases, or whatever, how many number of years it's been. I don't know. I lose track. That suddenly becomes really interesting to me. Now I look forward to challenges. Maybe they'll actually get some challenges on this season that are kind of similar to Australia, where players actually have to make physical contact with each other because you want to see Coach and Ozzy go at it. You know, someone just grinds them a little harder than normal. All right, I just wanted to get that in there. So the Vatu tribe, where we get folks drinking sour coconut milk. And I guess that was Genevieve, who's the originator of drinking that. It's like, and I was like, oh, Genevieve, what's wrong with you?
Sounds gross.
Because because everyone's reacting like, no, this isn't like lemonade. That's not.
Like, sour fruit.
Oh, it's yeah, you know what it is. It's and I think that they point. I think it's cute for it's rotting. You're,
Yeah.
you're drinking rotting food. While this is all going on,
Mhm.
Aubrey's taking it in, and then we hear her voice, from her via her confessional, that she thinks they're all lunatics. And but she starts to reflect on her own survivor experience and how difficult the game can be, especially when it comes to managing your energies. Um, okay, Aubrey, that's interesting. But Aubrey, I kind of Aubrey is something of one of the key figures in this episode, at least until we get to the immunity challenge, and after that, then in case she's not a
Mhm.
factor anymore. Um, and in this part at Vatu camp, this is when Genevieve is suspicious of Aubrey, and specifically the way she almost protectively keeps walking around with her bag. Genevieve suspects she has a boomerang idol stashed in her bag. And this leads to a little evil plan hatched among a few of the other players. Q is being the lookout. The gross one is a distraction with Aubrey to keep her occupied. Colby's keeping an eye on stuff as well. And Genevieve gets the job of very carefully, meticulously even, going through the bag. But as we already know, there is no idol in there. Well, not yet, at least. It how funny is it? I mean, obviously, we'll talk about it more later on in the podcast, but it's really this is an instance I don't mind jumping ahead just a little bit. It's just the idea that is Genevieve like psychic or something? Because if she had had this vision, a few hours later, because I don't know what the timing is, whatever. Guess what? An idol is going to show up in that bag at some point.
So,
Uh,
I get so and I like Aubrey, and it's a little bit heartbreaking that she's not vibing with the tribe, and
oh, I
I
see.
feel like that is and I could be wrong, maybe Aubrey wins this thing, who knows? But I feel like, you know, it's hurting her game
Oh, yeah.
because she's not been able, to vibe, and I think that because of that awkward initial interaction with Genevieve, it's kind of put this whole me versus her type thing in
You've got
play.
Right, you've got that going on between her and Genevieve specifically. You notice no one's talking about adding her to be part of their alliance, whatever.
Line.
You already had the weird, which, by the way, I believe it hasn't yet been touched on. The whole Q
You think it
not
has
being an
not?
Aubrey fan to begin with,
Yeah.
and I gotta say, like I was kind of iffy on Aubrey to begin with. I certainly didn't think she should have been brought back. I think there's others who deserved it more. But now watching her in this, look, in some ways it's unfair to really judge too much by only two episodes because there some players are really standing out more than others. Like on that tribe, it's not like Angelina is getting a great edit right now, but honestly, sometimes I say, well, maybe Angelina still hasn't done or said anything worth a damn. The fact that, we see Q getting upset about her among other people later on. Well,
Mhm.
we've seen nothing to indicate otherwise. And yeah, that could be the edit, and that's the way they want to present them. But these are Survivor All Stars. These are Survivor 50, you know. And so if you're either not you're not gelling, you're not vibing, you're not fucking saying anything much of all, then you know what? Then maybe you should be one of the first people to get kicked out of this damn game then. I don't have a reason. I wasn't rooting for Aubrey to begin with. She's not doing anything that's changing my mind here. Um, I want to talk about her more later after what happens with her because I'm very curious about that, but I don't want to jump ahead of things because then I think I lose the thread of the story for the
Okay,
episode.
okay. So let's yeah. But okay. How did you feel about them going through her bag?
We've seen people going through Survivor people's bags before. This bothered me less because they seemed to actually be genuinely didn't like the fact that they were doing it, but they had to do it to know. So, look, once upon a time, people didn't have bags. So the fact you even got a bag or bag, like, what is this? So,
With
too bad.
multiple changes of clothes, you
Yeah,
noticed
everyone, whatever, they're
yeah.
fine. Less days but more clothes. Okay, makes perfect sense. So over at the Kahlo camp, we have we have big man Jonathan, he's talking game in his confessional because he's determined to convince us he's not just a physical player. I know how you feel about it. I saw as you turn your thumb down. Um, I'm okay with so far. He's not bothering me. Um, he decides to go spearfishing with Coach. And poor Coach gets really bad cramps in both of his legs. And Jonathan has to help him, pretty much keep him afloat, until some of the behind the scenes staff are apparently are always nearby, in a boat in case there's a water calamity, which makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
They get Coach, and then shortly thereafter we see Coach's gimpily making his way across the beach. We see Charlie reacting. Mike Mike White kind of finds it a little bit funny because he smirks at the camera.
Love that. I loved that.
I, as again, I can't believe. See, I should be a Coach fan because, good Lord, the last few years I've gotten so many times bad cramps and Charlie horse things that are just excruciating in either one of my calf muscles. I don't know what sometimes or my hamstrings for doing absolutely nothing.
Not drinking
Um,
enough water.
yeah, apparently it's one of the things where maybe I need to maybe they mentioned potassium. Does that mean I should eat more bananas? I like bananas. I also didn't like hearing that I'm older than Coach. That really didn't thrill me. Speaking of people and being older, we also learn that Chrissy is apparently taking on this role of being kind of a meddling mother to the tribe. Oh, Chrissy, Chrissy, Chrissy. Oh. We know it doesn't thrill D. Oh, by the way, speaking of D, she also says Coach is old and kind of dismantled. I was like, dude, stop beating up Coach.
I'm loving D this season. Like,
Well,
I
I think
love that D, Tiffany, Camilla
I think
thing.
D. I'm going to tell you right. Oh, no, I'll, I'm going to say it now, but it's more about what happens by the time the episode is over. I think D might unexpectedly be in some trouble, but we'll get there when we finish the episode.
Mm.
But think about it, and you realize, oh yeah, she could be in some trouble. But Chrissy, who is what we're talking about here, really doesn't seem to be delighting people with her words and actions around camp. And it's really funny when you hear Charlie referencing how he likes to lie with older women, and maybe he really should play a different game considering how that ultimately went. But even here, he does say he's drifted away from the idea of Miss Chrissy because she's kind of annoying everybody. So
Yeah.
kind of thinking, Chrissy, yeah, he could eventually be in some trouble here as the game goes on. So
So I made a note that I called it. I knew she wasn't going to mesh well with the younger women. I knew that she was going to kind of like attach herself to the big, strong men. Like I was hoping that she would play a different game, but I don't know. Chrissy just she can't help herself. She can't help but be Chrissy.
oh well,
It is what it is.
it is what it is. I thankfully my original prediction, which was from the previous summer, when I had a 5 and a 3, I think I had Chrissy in there, and I that was one of the things I changed when we got to recording our preview episode a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
And now seeing her at play, I'm like going, "Oh, I'm glad I made that change."
Yeah.
Okay, so let's zip over to the Scylla tribe,
Mhm.
and we see Savannah and Rick, and they're having a conversation. It kind of is about whether or not she actually does have an advantage from the journey thing that she went on. I love the way Rick addresses it with her, because he's being very real with her. By the way, not to be a rhetorical question, just, it's like, future Scott is asking, us, present Scott, this one or both of us. One wonders if this episode goes differently, if she had decided to confide in Rick here as opposed to continuing to keep her advantage a secret.
Mhm.
I get her not telling anybody, but here's the thing. It's a nice advantage to have, but you could have bought trust with it, which might have been really more valuable considering no one knows you. So they don't
Yeah.
you're the one of the 2 players people need a reason to find to trust because they don't know your game.
Mhm.
So this and This dude might have been the one to fucking tell because he's all about game and strength. He was like he'd respect it. Didn't so it does. I'm just saying that did not help her.
Did
So
not help her at all.
and then they're shortly thereafter, if you go by the edit at least, they're with Ozzy by the well. Well, beyond he's got in that as long as it ain't me stance. By the way, I always find it interesting that um it's such an obvious thing to say, but a lot of the most popular players use that. His his partner in crime in this season, we've seen Siri do that. We saw her in Australia, like
Mhm.
just as long as it ain't me.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like I'll vote whatever you want, just as long as it ain't me.
Maybe.
They
Yeah.
seem to agree with the concept of a four-person alliance, which would include Joe for
Oh,
some reason. Oh boy. Now, of course, in via Rick's confessional, we know and he reiterates how he already has an alliance with Emily and Christian.
mm,
And of course, then you got that Ozzy and Siri combo. So it's clear nothing about this potential alliance rings true at all. What it does do, this all leads to Joe. And it's clear at this point, and then moving forward in this episode, Joe is a problem for this tribe. As Rick says, Joe is all about integrity and honor, which is not that fun when you want to get strategic because you have to work around its principles.
yeah.
That's a problem. Then, I love then they bring in Kristen and talking about it, and he's with Siri. And, maybe we have to create instead of a rotation, a Joe-tation to kind of make him, people, kind of have to make him feel like he's in a loop while the rest actually play the game they want or need. The
Yeah.
problem with that plan is that's going to be really hard to pull off, especially, as we've seen already, and we're going to continue to see uh, and I mean, yes, he chalks it up to his, post-traumatic stress disorder he's gotten from the Kyle Camilla crap, whatever. But he's on full paranoid alert. He's almost reminding me of that other player from his season who was paranoid about everything. Now Joe's like that, which is really strange. We'll say a lot more about Joe in a bit, but before we do, I just need to point out that Christian finds the boomerang idol. And he does this all on his own. He goes through all the possibilities of how one could use it. There's all these different, possibilities of how it could help your game or help someone else or help a potential alliance, whatever. And he ultimately picks Aubrey. We're
Mhm.
at Vatu. So Aubrey's still playing a part in this episode. So I feel we can talk a little bit about the Joe problem now. It's going to be a much bigger thing later on in the episode, so it doesn't matter. We can because I know we're both going to pretty much dump over Joe. But what a more interesting thing is, how about Christian picking Aubrey? What do you think his motivation is? Does he see her as a future ally, or does he see her as someone he thinks might get axed sooner than later, and you'll get it back? Because he seemed to not fall on any one strategy. He joked to himself initially about Angelina because I gather he's not an Angelina fan from I guess that was
Yeah.
the same season, which kind of makes sense. Those two personalities don't think like they would gel together.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be friends in the high school cafeteria. What do you what do you think he was thinking there?
So I think it was twofold. I think he was thinking that Aubrey is someone potentially that he would want to work with. I think he respects her. I think he knows she's smart and strategic. But I think he was also probably thinking about the dynamics of that tribe and thinking that she may not mesh with everyone. So the likelihood of her going out early could be whatever. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Aubrey go out in one of her seasons with an advantage or something?
That I don't know.
I
You're
believe
better than
she
me.
did. So he's probably like, well, she's on a whatever. She's possibly could be out earlier. And she's been known to have an idol or two or something in her bag and whatever. So it'll just come back to me. So it's a win-win either way.
Right. That makes perfect sense to me. In a way, it's hedging your bets. That
Yeah.
hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind working with Aubrey. She's shown herself to be smart, strategic. She's from the similar era around when I played, so we kind of have that stuff in common, whatever. So, and I, if we end up merging, and she's still here, and she still has it, or she has played it, and we find out it's from me. That would I'd already have a strong bond there, and I'm already bringing two more. It becomes a bigger alliance, etc. But by the same token, based on what I know about her, he's watched all these seasons too. Like he knows, for example, he would know that Q doesn't like Aubrey.
Mhm.
Just from that season. Because he's watched all the seasons. He's watched that season.
Yeah.
He might not know she doesn't get along with Genevieve, but he might anticipate that she might not click with the tribe as well as she might have on a different one, whatever. Either way, it's a smart move to pick someone that what it's easy to picture them getting booted out before they realize it, getting blindsided. But if they don't, it'll still work to your advantage. So either way, and which in a weird way, you can almost say the same thing when Genevieve sent the one to Ozzy. Same situation, if you think
Yeah.
about it. Ozzy, someone who could be, voted out to the very next episode, or he can make it to the final five or six. You can never be tell. That's the thing with having an all-star squad like this. You know, except except for that's why we were like when you were worried about the way Aubrey's was like, Aubrey, don't put yourself in a hole here
Yeah.
because that's you could be if you just raise your damn game, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, just before we get to the immunity challenge here, we do go back to Vatu, and that is when we get Q's assessment of how lazy most of the tribe is. And okay, before I get to the one little line, which is a cute line from another player, I can't believe him. You know what? I have to give this season credit. It's making me say nice things and compliment players that in the phone conversations I've had with Tiffany over the last 15 to 20, whatever the number of years it's been, I have generally crapped and shat upon. Q is cracking me up in these two episodes. It's clear, like, okay, every time you're on screen, I'm reminded, oh, this is why they brought you back. This is why they brought you back. And when him talking about how lazy people are, and he's not just talking about any one player. He talks about Angela. She's like a statue. He's talking about Rizzo because it's not just white ladies. Keep going on, whatever. And then we see them, and then we hear them complaining about it too. It's like, oh, Q. I mean, I don't know if I'd get along with you but but if I was on your tribe, I know I'd make a little bit of effort just so I wouldn't have to fall into that category. He's cracking me up. But
He is.
but
It's really and I love the edit where you just see Angelina literally standing around like a
yeah,
statue.
like what is she doing? But you get Rizzo in his own little yet another little mini confessional. He drops a great line here that he didn't come to Survivor 50 to play camp. He came to cut throats and win some money. It's like going, all right, kid. Just remember, you're on. But at least throughout this episode, you're on a team with like people like Colby and apparently Q. Yeah, may,
Yeah,
fake it till you make it.
make it.
Just go get
Absolutely.
do like the Chrissy thing. Just go get some fronds, man. You don't got to pick up anything that heavy. Come on.
Yeah. Just do like you gotta be good at pretending to look like you're busy.
Yeah, just don't lay around. I mean, look,
Yeah.
you did well. And to Rizzo's credit, in the upcoming challenge, he actually does well in the challenge, which I used to see him do well in challenges. He wasn't awful, but usually like he was kind of a nothing. This one, like, oh, he's actually doing something. And that is what we're up to here, the immunity challenge. It's the old Survivor snake game. Now, it's set up that the tribes keep sending pair after pair of players, to carry a 200-pound snake from the jungle, got to get through a net, then through this ropey, web-tangled obstacle thingy. Then, after that, when they get them all set up, then three players play this snake trap game where you gotta, using the wires and strings, you gotta move a ball along a snake-shaped puzzle until you get it in the hole. Those games always would drive me crazy. So during the course of the challenge, Vatu is initially woefully behind. They're like way behind everybody. But unlike earlier, even in the earlier challenge, Colby suddenly looks the way he did 20 years ago out of nowhere. He plays a major part in Vatu catching up to the other two tribes. In
Mhm.
fact, Vatu ends up winning the damn thing. I believe they were first to finish and win. And then Kahlo wins, which means Sela is going to tribal once again. Now, look, the challenge, as far as I saw it, it was reasonably even for the most part. I mean, Vatu obviously handled the puzzle better than the other two because they just remained kind of patient. Those kind of games, especially when multiple people are involved, I don't think they're easy. The puzzle ball part I'm talking about. I don't even though it's talked about later, think I didn't get the impression anyone did anything that was like egregious. I mean, Ozzy apologized later on for snapping or raising his voice. I didn't get the impression he did anything which really should have bothered anybody. Plus, the people who were there, Siri ain't gonna give a damn what anything he says. And Christian seemed fine. I know Rick was saying things from the sidelines. Again, I don't think that impacted anything. I think he just lost. That's all. I
Yeah.
don't like it's not like oh, they don't know how to put a puzzle together, kind of an ending kind of thing where you go, really? You couldn't get your shit together? But this one was like, that's a difficult one to do. It just sucks because there's so much I like about this tribe, and they're the ones who keep going to final tribal.
Um, I do think we have to note, and again, I'm no fan of his,
Mhm.
but Jonathan beasted out because he literally like carried him and Camilla.
Oh yeah.
And that was a great strategy to put him with their weakest player that
Right.
basically like canceled her out because he did that shit on his own.
Yeah. It's
You know.
200 pounds, which is nothing. I mean, he can easily haul a 200
Yeah.
pound thing. Yeah, I thought I was very intrigued by some of the combinations, and I noticed that Jonathan and Camilla won, and I went, oh, that's smart.
Yes.
Whoever made the decisions there, it's like, yeah, that's how you handle that. Don't.
Absolutely.
So
Um,
I thought that was a smart move. There was a few that were kind of smart.
yeah.
That one was like probably the smartest of all of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
but beyond that, I don't know if there's really much else to say. So once we see who loses, that means we know we're going to be spending the rest of the episode with, the losing tribe, which is the Scylla tribe,
Mm.
as they go into danger mode because tribal is once again in their future. But there's so much fun stuff that to follow, and which is why this is such a really good episode.
Mm.
Because we get all these and one of the joys of this season and this episode specifically is all these great little combinations of people that we probably before there was a Survivor 50 we never imagined we see having conversations, and now it's happening. Like right off the bat we get this fun real conversation between Siri and Emily,
Mhm.
and that's and it's so good because Emily's the one who points out that you have this person's probably looking to get rid of Joe. This person's probably looking to get rid of. She goes through all the possibilities, and then Siri kind of calmly takes it in. It's like, well, let's go through this. Let's go through the pros and cons,
Mhm.
and she paints a picture of each person, including Ozzy. And because she's aware, like especially because she's talking to Emily, and Ozzy's the one that Emily would like to get rid of. It's like, yeah, there's reasons where he's a threat, but she also points out how his social game sucks, which clearly he's already playing from behind because of that. That it's a nice, brilliant way to negate Ozzy in someone else's eyes, like, but he's got a bad social game. Which we
This is the beauty of Siri. And I think that because she hasn't won, because we've seen her so like we forget
yes,
she's a
absolutely.
fucking mastermind when it
She
comes to this social
right.
game. Because she doesn't tell you, "No, we need to whatever." Because
No,
remember last episode when Ozzy was trying to protect Siri and he's pissing people off because he's like, "No, we need to do this or whatever."
that's why he's
She's
got to step back, let her do
so
it.
subtle with it,
She
like,
she
so let's go through. Let's think about this.
she
Let's
does the pros and cons, and you
yes,
see it leads to Savannah being the
yes, she's
choice.
a master.
And then you see that she kind of employs a method along these lines with others. And it's all about you outline the situation, and the pros and cons, and you always act as if you're simply just, let's just go through the information. And
Mm.
you put it in a way where, you're more trying to let the person draw the conclusion themselves instead of pushing it
Yes.
too strongly. Because that's what she's talking about. It's like now, obviously, unless you're dealing with unless you're talking to a total moron, they know that's the person you kind of, but you're doing it in a more subtle way. Because like, well, let's look at all the possibilities here. You know, she's
Mhm.
she's not saying no, no, not him, not him, her. She's going like, well, there's a reason why you might want to vote for him. There's reasons why to vote for him.
Mhm.
But this one, the one, and she's focusing on Savannah. Everything from, does she have an advantage? She's the one who might have an advantage that we don't know about. She's the one whose game we don't know about. She's the
She won her
she's
season,
and she's a winner. All these things, whatever. And that's where you have Ozzy talking to the cameras like she and saying Siri is a master of strategy. So when she comes to talk to him and tell him what she's done and doing this on his behalf, also because it's her alliance as well, whatever.
Mhm.
Because it's a smart kind. It's an interesting combination because. I mean, again, it's one of the things I kind of anticipated. At least I got 2/3 of it correct. Um, but I guess to show both his allegiance, his appreciation, whatever you want to say, he gives Siri his extra vote.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just pure gratitude. And for whatever reason, we either, depending what level survivor knowledge you have, how crazy good your survivor memory is, whether you're someone who recently watched them or you haven't seen them in a million years, you either learn or you're reminded Siri has never had an advantage before in Survivor, other than being Siri. I was kind of amazed by that. Although obviously Siri played in a lot of earlier seasons where there wasn't as much crazy stuff, different wacky advantages all over the place. But I think there had to be weird advantages at least in one of her seasons. I don't know. I didn't rewatch those seasons. But it's kind of funny. It took her to Survivor 50 to finally get one. So that makes me think maybe she'll win immunity or she'll still start a fire or something in this season just to do another. Okay, maybe not the fire thing, but she might win something. You never know.
I don't see that happening. But,
Such a skeptic.
yeah, I was really impressed. That made me really remember why we like Siri and why,
Oh,
okay.
this entire episode does that, and then
Yeah.
and spoiler, I'll be talking a little bit about her at the end of the episode as well.
Mm,
But for now, a lot about what happens at camp
mm.
kind of stems from Joe and his paranoia and the clear and chasmus, that's not a word, the clear rift that has formed and it now continues to widen between Joe and Rick. Because we get the second Rick and Joe conversation. I think I really forgot to really focus on it. I think kind of got turned around earlier in the podcast. Uh, didn't really get to the point of Joe and Rick having that conversation and Joe being suspicious and asking like right off the bat, what was that you whispered, with
Savannah.
Savannah before,
Mhm.
and which kind of just the way when they're about to just have like a regular conversation and Joe goes right into what was that about, kind of kind of threw kind of put Rick on his heels because it's like one wasn't expecting that. It was just kind of out of nowhere. It's not like they were conspiring. He just kind of said something, then they started to walk off, and so he never told him what they had said. Then he found out later from Savannah actually that the possibility of doing an alliance or not, whatever. And he felt it wasn't his place to be the one to bring it up to him. They have this whole back and forth here, and it keeps escalating. Now, I know there's going to be some people who watch this. They may be Joe fans, or maybe not. Maybe just fans in general. There are going to be some who say that Rick should have shown maybe a little bit more patience, maybe a little bit more tolerance. I have to personally say, and I can see by the way you're shaking your head, that we are in lockstep on this one. Not a surprise, because I think you like Joe less than I do, even. Um, I have to say, I cannot blame Rick for the way he reacted. at the end of the day, and there it is, kids, at the end of the day, these are clearly, perhaps more so than any other pair in the game, clearly two very opposite players. And for no matter what, it seems these two are just not going to be in sync with each other. I don't see a way these guys are ever going to be in an alliance together. I don't. It's just not going to work out for them. Um, we're big Rick fans, obviously. We're not big Joe fans. I don't want. Okay, I don't want this just to be us just bashing Joe. Although I know that's what we're going to do anyway. But it's kind of, you know, I I want to. I'm not going to go as far as to give the guy grace, as they say. Um, I get Joe going into this being with that sense of paranoia to a degree, but enough already. Enough. Enough already. And there's something that happens later on, which is I'm going to say, oh, let's just go to it right now, and then we can really, because then I'm going to let you go, Tiffany.
Mm.
Because if there's another reason for why I'm going to be talking about it at the end of the episode, because a little bit later, you've got Rick talking with Christian and Siri about the situation, and the whole thing is like, why is this happening? Because the whole thing is like, this is happening almost over nothing. It's not like there was this big conspiratorial whatever thing. This is like you whispered something which was really not even a bad thing. But the whole thing is like, oh, that you lied to him. And then when Siri says, ooh, you lied on Survivor.
Like, okay, if I may,
Yes, please do.
and I will try not to go on a huge "I hate Joe" rant.
Yes, because I fear where it could go, and I want to keep you from
Yeah,
going
I'm
there.
I'm not gonna
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No.
But this is my issue with Joe and players like him.
Okay.
You apply to be on Survivor. Outwit, outplay, outlast. From season 1, we have learned what those things mean. You know you will have to lie. You will have to conspire. There are things that you will have to do that have nothing to do with honor and character and all that. It's bullshit. And if that's what you want to do, then you don't go on freaking Survivor. Because no one who plays like that has ever really won. You have to do some manipulation. You have to do some lying. Even if it's not outright, you have to do some of the deception. You have to do that. You have to go against some people that you have aligned with. That is the game. That is the game that I tune in to see. That's what I want to see. I don't give a damn how many challenges you win. I don't care about that. I care about, can you persuade? Can you manipulate? Can you strategize? That's what I tune in to see. Those are the players that are interesting for me. So all this, oh, my honor and all that, just I want them to vote him off because you're not a grown up. You're still playing at the kids' table. I don't want to see that. This is season 50. You're there with Siri, Devins, Christian, Mike. You are there to play. And if you can't handle that, then you shouldn't be there. And I'm really tired about the whole, oh, Camilla and Kyle had this. Well, you had a whole alliance with Eva your entire season. You guys were a duo. You were a team. So why is it that there was another team just because you didn't know that? Just because you chose to put your stuff out there so everybody knew that it was you and Eva together before anybody, and they chose not to do that? You're trying to make yourself a victim. Oh, they whatever. No, they played a better fucking game than you. You clearly don't know how to play Survivor. That's what it is. And I'll shut up from here.
No, I agree with 99% of what you said. Um, I have always found it ludicrous when people on Survivor complain about lying, because I feel the outwit part, lying kind of becomes part of it. Even though some people will say they didn't necessarily lie, it's like, oh, it's semantics. You're still doing things which amount, well, sins of omission are still forms of a lie. You still did, if you
Absolutely.
manipulated situations, it's still forms of a lie. I mean, there's maybe one or two players in the history of Survivor who they're the closest you come to not quite being out and out liars, but doesn't mean they were pure. Like there was that Tom guy or at one time or whatever.
No, he
But generally
manipulated.
speaking, generally
Yeah.
speaking, um, it drives me crazy. It's like it's like people on the traders and everyone getting mad about being betrayed, whatever. It's like you're on a show called The Traders. You're literally talking about someone who is a traitor. By definition, that is what they're going to be doing. Why are you upset? Hey, Eric, why are you upset that that Rob stabbed you in the back so he would be willing to get the money? You're traitors. If you didn't see that's how that was being set up to happen, that's on you, buddy. You
That's why
blew it.
he chose you, because you would be the easiest to throw under the
So peop-
bus.
so people complaining about, lying on Survivor. It's like, complaining about eating on Top Chef. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just the dumbest fucking thing.
It's ludicrous.
All right. So let me get back to what happened on screen here. Because you get a lot of really fun moments with different players on this tribe here. That's the only reason it's worth. I don't mind the fact that they had to go to tribal back to back because some of these players are ones I kind of want to spend more time with than other players necessarily, especially when you get like Rick and Christian on this team. Come on. I mean, we got Christian rocking Joe in the hammock while talking to him and trying to lull him. I mean, that's so it's physically demonstrated to be brilliant. We get the title of the episode from Christian here. He's the one who
Yes.
says therapy carousel.
There's no
It's so good. Now, one should note, if Joe had his way, he'd likely vote out Rick, but he makes it pretty clear in his confessional, I think it was via confessional if I'm not mistaken, that he's gonna go along with whatever the crowd wants.
Mhm.
And we already can see as, we getting closer and closer to tribal, Rick does not appear to be one of the likely nominees for,
Mhm.
getting killed. Now, Savannah, however, kind of, she's hearing the stuff and, because Siri's working her magic, whatever, but got to give Savannah credit on one hand because she's kind of able to push that to the side. Maybe unlike, I don't know, people who play in Finland who can't who who just will just hang on every word that Siri says, no matter what, or silly fools on Traders a few years ago. You know, Savannah can push whatever Siri says to the side because she knows, no, 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 no. Siri's working all this to protect Ozzy, who
Mhm.
Emily, for whatever reason, continues to say she'd like to vote out, even though, quite frankly, she never really gives a great reason for that other than causing chaos. And then I went, wait, is Emily the new era version of Chaos Cass?
Yes.
Is because I keep thinking like, but why? Anyway, in the midst of all this going on, we do have a moment where Christian tells Rick about the boomerang idol. And it's I should say, the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol, only because it's kind of funny listening to Christian talk about Billie Eilish. It just makes me laugh. Anyway, and he tells Rick that he sent it to Aubrey. And Rick is filled with glee because now he knows there's definitely idols in the game. And if there's one player in this, and of all these players they brought back, who knows a little something about how to play with Survivor idols, or real or fake, it's Mr. Rick Devens. And we see that, we just talk about chaos. He hatches a pure, just let's screw with people plan with Christian for a different sort of chaos. The idea of planting a fake idol at tribal council of all places. He gets the description of the idol, he's got the parchment, da 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 da. When I hear this, I'm just going, oh, they've activated Rick. Oh, and like, oh, I just forgot. I just remembered something. Oh, I'll wait till we get. I might have to. I might have to change my mind about something. We have to talk about this. But let's go to tribal council
Mhm.
now. At this point, Tiff, we see there's three possible heads that have been lined up to be chopped. You got your Joe, got your Ozzy, and you've got your Savannah. And here's the thing. I love the idea, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be. I love the idea of Siri pushing Savannah oh so subtly before, and I think never knowing that Savannah was after her. I don't think Siri knew that Savannah had targeted her. I don't think that was told. She was told about being targeted in the previous episode by Jenna. I don't
Yeah.
think anyone ever told her that Savannah was targeting her.
No, I don't think she
And
knew that.
because I think if she'd been told, they would have shown us. The why you wouldn't? There's no reason to cut that out of the edit.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Still, it's just just by accidental genius there. So I'm going to say at the actual tribal, not much is revealed there. You got Joe. He sort of kind of apologizes to some extent for his flare up at Rick. Eh, okay, yay. Rick makes kind of a funny joke about how he and Joe have a lot in common, like their physiques and their stubbornness, so that's kind of funny. Um, then Savannah, when Jeff speaks to her, she kind of goes on an unexpectedly emotional tangent about putting up walls and being vulnerable. I
I thought that
think,
was bullshit.
Jesus. Um, I don't know. I mean, there's a little bullshit. I don't know how good an actress she is because she did seem to get choked up, but I don't remember her being that good an actress on the season where she actually won. I think the better act is Siri leaning over and patting her on the leg, consoling her. Because I already know they're going, oh, that makes me laugh. That makes me. Well, by the way, the moment Siri did that, I went, oh, I think I know how the vote's going. I think I know how the vote's going. I think I know. I think that just told me. I think I know how the vote's going to go.
Siri's a mastermind.
Oh,
She
man.
is. Yeah.
Christian does have some final words about the vote being based on solidarity, safety, security.
Mm.
Then the vote happens. And ladies and gentlemen and others, we have another landslide. This time the person getting pelted with the rocks is Savannah. So, gotta point this out. We either be via medevac or voting. Two of the first three to get turned out of Survivor 50 are new era winners.
Hmm.
That's why I'm going to say now all eyes should be on D because she's the last new era winning standing. She was the one that people would be worried about because they saw what she played. I mean, not to take away from Kyle's game. Kyle played a very good game, but a lot of people consider D to be the best of the winners. I would, I might be a little worried if I were her because I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here because now
Yeah.
I'm the only winner left.
Yeah.
And the people you're aligned with, I mean, they're okay, but
Yeah. We're not.
you're the world. Like Tiffany's fine. I don't mean to not. I don't want an activity, but we'll see. They desperately need to add. Well, they're about to be split up, so it's not going to matter. So I guess we'll see what happens with the redistribution. But before we get to any of that, we have a little bit extra. A little bit. And by the way, it is so a little bit extra at Tribal.
It was.
As they're all rising to take their little long, actually, it's never a little, it's always turns out to be a long walk home. Everyone's camp is always is like miles away, apparently, from what people say.
Is it?
Sometimes
Oh wow.
we notice the camera keeps focusing on Devins and reaching into his bag and whatever. It's like, oh, what's going on here? And then also we remember that little conversation Kristen and Rick had. Because then Christian takes a fall, takes a big fat prat fall in front of everybody. And everybody's all trying to help him up. And they're like, what's going on? And da. He distracts everybody. And Rick slips his little tied up package of parchment and likely a fakery into this very visible crevice in between these two big stones by the fire pit. And I realized picking that specific spot and how it's lodged there, it could be spotted by anybody when they approach the pit. Like to say to light their torches for the very first time. Because remember, 2/3 of the people have not been to Tribal yet. They have not.
Uh,
They all have to go over there to light their torches. at least one, if not two players, will be right in eye range of where that is. And the production staff will probably hope it out a little bit. Like, oh, let's push it up just a little bit.
Mhm.
Again, whether it may never impact the game or certainly not impact his game, but just the fact that Rick Devens decides just to toss a landmine somewhere, I thought was so funny and such a beautiful way. The only thing I wish they had done, and if this had been on, again, I don't mean to do the whole Australian Survivor thing, whatever, but if this had been on Australian Survivor, that and same players involved, that Rick and JLP would have locked eyes with a
Uh-huh.
smirk, and maybe Devin would have done a shh kind of a thing at him, which they didn't do here. I would have liked an acknowledgement that, because obviously it happened right in front of Jeff Probst. He clearly
Yeah.
knows, but I would have liked a funny acknowledgement of it. But they seem to shy away from doing that on this show, that kind of stuff. But it was a really funny way to end the episode. I mean, Savannah's final words or whatever. Da, da, da. I mean, I just realized, oh, that's right. She's one of the only people here who hasn't ever had her torch snuffed because she's a winner. So she got to experience that. And then I thought, you know what? It's funny. She has won a season and she's played for, I guess this was 6 days here,
Mhm.
right? Which means she's one of the people who's played a full season and won and was here for almost a week and still most of the major I think perhaps the majority of the players, at least half of them who are playing this game, have logged more days on the island in Survivor than she ever has.
Yep.
Because, I had all these people who got further, which means they got into the 39s, who've come back multiple times, who are now back again. And so you added six more to their total, whatever. She's still she's at 35. She still hasn't touched the 39 from the air. For some reason, that thought occurs to me. So, what do you think of all this trial and just how it ended?
I loved it. I loved, Siri asking Christian, "Hey, let me go first. You need help." Like they really bought it. I thought it was brilliant. I loved it. I hope that it really does change the game or has some kind of serious impact on the game. I would love for that to happen.
It
It
would
was
be,
interesting.
it would, I gotta say, if somehow that happened, it would be the funniest fucking thing. It
Absolutely.
would be so great. It would be just so
Absolutely.
great. Again, you never know. It's one of those things. They planted it. They did it. It could happen. We have gotten so used to idols really rarely panning out on the show in recent years, whatever. And then we're reminded of a player like Rick Devens, and just by watching the clips from his season, how much idol play there was, and how it would tend to be well used especially when he did it more strategically than other times, and
Mhm.
and we saw what he's done with fake idols too. So it's like, I've seen this movie before. But the fact he's doing it in a more random fashion than so early is like, oh, why not? Yeah. The only thing that could happen would be if someone got it who's already gotten that thing before and they realize it's not real and they go, oh, who would have done a fake? Oh, wait a minute. There's a guy here who's known for fake. But the odds of that happening, I think, are slim to none.
Absolutely. Which makes me give Rick Devens our play of the episode for me.
Interesting. I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something. Uh, oh, by the way, just to make it clear to everybody, I know there was some weird nonsense from last podcast about changing predictions every episode or whatever someone's wine consumption led them to say. I don't know what was going on
Ah,
there. Um, I feel with this podcast, I mean, we're clearly going to be citing our personal phase from episode to episode, which are probably going to be the same couple players until they're no longer on the show, you know. But I think, as I said earlier, it makes sense to really point out who was the top player of the episode. It could be based on gameplay, could be based on impact, could be based on, we didn't do it for the first episode, even though I kind of think it was Ozzy. Doesn't mean I like Ozzy the best. He's not, but I think he did so many things. It's hard to get away from that. It's not who had the funniest lines. That's not how it
no.
works. That's not how, no, no. Then we can, what am I gonna do? Give it to Mike White every other week? No, this doesn't make sense. But what I was talking about this episode. Uh, Um, I look at it this way. Now, this week was a little tougher than the first one. You know, Genevieve showed some scary psychic ability, but she was still wrong when she finally checked the bag.
Mm.
You know, Aubrey did get an idol, but she also cost her tribe that first challenge and didn't really seem to be vibing, as you said, with her tribe, whatever. I mean, Christian finds an idol but craps his pants. Don't really know, whatever. So you're going with Rick. Now, Rick was kind of like my runner up, the way I looked at it, because he was the guy who won the ring toss. That was
Mhm.
him. As he gleefully I think, gleefully twice in one episode, that he beat like Q and whoever the other person was. And he does have the fun of making this fake idol. Who knows if it'll ever come into play or impact the game or not, but it's still a fun thing to see. Um, and his rift with Joe was kind of a centerpiece to everything that was happening at camp. I'd be more inclined to say Rick if Joe had been the one they voted out. Then I probably would have went with Rick. But and again, if you're saying who's my favorite player of the episode, it probably is Rick.
Mm.
But as far as the top player, I'm not to be a
It's
cliche,
scary.
I gotta have to give it to Siri. She got rid of the person who was specifically targeting her.
But she
It
didn't
didn't
know
even,
that.
which for me makes it even better. You know, she got an extra vote advantage. She didn't get any of the blame for losing the immunity challenge, and she was part of that threesome, but no one ever said it was her fault. Didn't look like it was, whatever. And when she mocked the idea of being called out for lying on Survivor, I just remember, oh, Siri, that just is a cherry on top of a well played game. Look, Rick and Kristen both might have been more entertaining, but I think she's the player of the episode. So it's okay for us to pick her. Look,
Yeah.
obviously I love your choice. He is. I will say until he's no longer there, and I I want there to be a world where I think Rick actually pulls off this thing and wins. I don't think that's going to happen, but I want it to. But he's clearly my favorite player in the game right now, and without question. So he's probably got the stink of the Scott jinx on him right now. But hey, I I like the idea that I'm picking players that who are not players I want to root for, and these are two players I didn't even want brought back. But
Yeah.
give them both credit for one thing that I'll let you speak. I don't mean to talk over you. The fact that these two, I guess we'll call, they are these two iconic players were in my mind the players of their respective episodes, but kind of shows why you brought these two back. This episode really, as you were talking earlier, the reminder, like, oh, this is why you bring Siri back. Okay.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, the fact that she's been doing this whole episode and everything she's doing, and she's still got those fake eyelashes going without them. How's she, Tiffany? How's she doing that?
I was thinking about that because I
How's it
also
happen?
noticed, like, Angelina and her fake
Yeah,
eyelashes, and I'm like, "Hmm." Now,
seriously.
as a person who I get individual eyelashes or whatever, and, I know that they are much better than the strip eyelashes, I need their tech because
I
to
think
be in the ocean and all that, like,
ocean and sweat and dirt
yeah,
and
just amazing, like,
squirting
yeah,
sour coconut milk in their faces, whatever.
yeah, I mean, hey.
So, again, I thought overall good episode.
Yeah,
It, fo- I mean, it had a monster episode to follow up. That was almost 3 hours or 2 hours and change and I was like, okay, think about how often we've kind of been like "Meh," about the first couple episodes of
mm,
a season of the last several seasons. But when you get an all-star season and you've got old classic players in the mix,
mm.
even ones that we may not have necessarily wanted to be brought back, you're realizing, oh, you know what? I didn't want, like I said earlier, I didn't want Ozzy and Coach brought back, but I love the fact that these two were going at each other. Like, okay, yeah, yeah, all right, rip each other apart, motherfucker. Can someone curse a little bit? Do that too. I'm loving it. It's just because it's making for good television,
Absolutely.
and which also makes it more fun for us to podcast about. So,
I think Siri had a great like, it really reminded me of what Siri is capable of,
Yeah.
and that's great and all that. I had to give it to fucking Devins, like,
No, hey,
I just loved the way that he just kind of like, "What the fuck are we gonna do with Joe? How are we gonna play with this? Like, what
yeah,
do we
yeah.
do with this?"
Well,
Like
again, I want to finish up this point so I can move on and then start to wrap this thing up. The fact that Rick is the anti Joe, and the fact that me and you are not Joe fans by any stretch of the imagination, far less so than most other people, I think I know, and maybe you know as well, does kind of tilt the scale towards Rick as well. But I'm trying to put my personal bias aside when I'm picking the player. But my favorite player of the episode is Rick, but the top player is Siri. That's the way I look at it. We did see the ad for the next episode, and they're smart. They're not waiting longer. They're not waiting too long. They're mixing up the tribes already because
Mhm,
they just had a tribe go to the same tribe went twice. It's like I don't
mhm,
want to see it a third time.
yeah,
That's gonna because that's not gonna be fun. Oh, let's mix it up now because now you got 21 players. Brrr. Now you have 7 on each tribe. It works
mhm.
fine for me. I am curious at some point how they do player elimination since this is presumably a 26-day season like they've been doing in the new era or whatever. At a certain point, are you going to start doing double eliminations or not, or something like that, or two tribes go? I'm just curious, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, the medevac situation helped them a little bit. That kind of moved the needle a little bit, but I don't know if you can rely on that happening at any other point in the season. But of course, it's already happened, so who knows? But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to what the mix-ups are going to be, and how it impacts the different alliances, and we either just and how maybe like are they going to break up? Are they going to break up Kirk and Spock? I hope not, but probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen. It's have to go. Kirk's going to have to go with the corns. Uh,
Um, I'm glad that they're mixing it up next week. That should really add a little bit of oomph to it, and seeing how these players, these iconic players, can recover. Say if Siri and Ozzy are separated,
yeah,
and
it goes for all of them. Yeah, it goes for that.
Mhm.
It goes for all the situations and all the tribes. I mean, you're probably going to have some stuff totally shattered, but I would not be surprised if some stuff stays intact. That some people just the randomness could happen. We'll wait and see. That's what makes the mix-ups happen. Okay. Hey, kids, if you want to share your thoughts, your questions, your comments about either this podcast or more importantly, the latest episode of Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans, you can do it one of a few ways. We're still in that cesspool of X Twitter. So our handle there is at STVD podcast. I don't expect anyone to do that. I often forget about it, but we're also on Instagram. We go under the handle there. What is it? Oh, yeah, at Serious TV Drama. I don't expect anyone to do anything. Now, you can follow us on Facebook. You can join our group, comment on Survivor threads there, as well as other TV shows. That would be one of the best way to go. The page to find us on Facebook is the Serious TV Drama Podcast, or you can simply email us at stvdpodcast@gmail.com. Um, that is really all I have to say for tonight, Tiffany. Thank you so much for joining me for yet another round of Survivor podcasting. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Looking forward to next week.
And for you, the listeners, thank you for listening. Till next time, always remember this little bit of nonsense from this episode. Yesterday's adversary is tomorrow's enemy. Today's enemy is tomorrow's adversary. What?
What?
Shut up, coach. Anyway, good night, everybody.
Good night.